popping along to hear the presentation today. My name is Paul Atherley. I'm the Managing Director of the recently renamed Berkeley Energia. Just like to present to you, this is a story, it's a high impact story. We're looking to make a really big impact on the environment by producing clean energy, big impact on the local community by providing a whole bunch of jobs, and a big impact for shareholders. You're probably aware that we've had a big change recently. Amber Rudd, our Secretary of State for Energy, has come out and said we now need nuclear as part of our mix. So we're now looking forward to a mix, and we'll see it this week in the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The future is a mix of nuclear and renewables. And just to give some emphasis to that, we already have 160 nuclear reactors in Europe with very little uranium supply at a time when China and India are coming on stream big time. Jeremy Clarkson puts it very clearly, there is no alternative, and if Jeremy says it's right, then clearly it must be right. I'd just like to move on to make the point that, and if I can leave this point with you all the way through, this is a world-class asset sitting in Europe at the heart of a continent that needs lots of nuclear power. We've got a very experienced team that's developed 3 or 4 major mines before in Spain. We have all our major permits in place. We have started employing people. And to give you some idea of the need for this project, our first 200 jobs attracted 18,000 fully documented applications. And the sense of desertification is we lose one more person from the primary school closes, and this is an area of intergenerational unemployment. So it's going to have a really big impact on the local community. So I think there's 3 areas from a financial perspective. One is if we develop the project, we've articulated it's worth about £3 a share. It's currently trading about 25 pence. If the uranium price goes back up to where it was before, it's £9 a share. And we think the really exciting thing is the driver behind this project is the discovery of Zona 7. If we find more Zona 7s, it's worth even more. So just to give you perspective where we are, we're already the second lowest cost producer in the world. I'm just about to put out an announcement on Monday saying we're doing studies to make this project the lowest cost uranium producer in the world. Normally when somebody says that to you, it comes with a very high capital cost. We're not that. We're also one of the lowest capital cost projects in the world. And on a per pound basis, we are the lowest capital cost producer in the world. And this is at a time when we've, as I mentioned, China and India are moving into the uranium market. They're about to become a demand side shock to the uranium market. So it's a very good time to be developing a mine. And many graphs like this, but basically you're seeing primary production falling off because uranium prices are very low, secondary staying the same, but as we go forward, there's a big deficit. We're going to be putting this mine into a period where there is future very strong demand. And just to give a little bit of technical aspect to that is, the utilities buy contracts. These contracts are typically 5 to 8 years long, and when they move in, these long-term contracts are the yellow bars. The last 3 years, they've not been in this market at all. It's been all spot. When they do move back in, the uranium price can spike. So there's the reason why putting the project into production now is these utilities are going to be short and they're moving back in. I'll be on a plane with my commercial manager in a week and a half's time to go and start talking to those utilities to secure some offtake contracts. And then the third leg of the value in the project is the project was sort of okay with its existing resources, but the big change has been find this thing called Zona 7. Just without going through any geology at all, it's very simple. 30 million pounds of uranium sitting 4 meters from the surface and only 100 meters deep. Very high grade and really impressive metallurgy. Zona 7 has transformed the project. What's really exciting from my perspective is we've got potential for more Zona 7s. And we're about to commence, and I've just had approved, an 11,000 meter exploration program to go and find more Zona 7s. So I guess in sort of summary, The underlying value of this asset is $500 million, £500 million. And we're sitting here with a share price that has fallen from the previous high, and albeit in a different uranium price environment. This company was bid for by Severstal. This didn't happen because of Fukushima. We're now coming back again. The project's going ahead because of Zona 7, but you can get some idea of the future value if we've added, this was pre-Zona 7, and certainly we're getting some response from the brokers saying our first target is somewhere near £1 from this 25 pence. And we could talk about the mining market being dead. The guys who are buying the stock at the moment are the top funds. So BlackRock are buying at the moment. We've been with Fidelity, Capita and JP Morgan, all very, very supportive of the idea. So this is a very well supported institutional stock. So I guess in summary, this quote is from Julien Treguer, who's our major shareholder from Anglo-Pacific, and I think universally from our shareholders, from the institutional investors that looked at this project, from people who've been on site, this is quite simply the most exciting new project in the mining sector this year, and I commend it to you. I'm very happy to take some questions.
A number of questions.
Please.
Could you please give us some thumbnail sketch of your profitability, how many employees you've got, and whether you have the Spanish licenses in place which are necessary to exploit the additional resources?
Sure. Really good questions. I'll just go back to the Spanish side, go back right to the beginning. Okay, the first on the Spanish management, one of the changes that happened with this company a couple of years ago was all the expats were basically sent back to Australia. The Aussies were booted out. This is now a 100% Spanish managed site. And the two guys, Paco and Javier, they're ex-Rio Narcea, and they've built 3 major mines themselves. We have a completely Spanish team on site. We've got approximately 50 people at the moment, and they've done all the work we're talking about now over the last 2 years to bring the project technically to where it is. Javier is a very, very experienced lawyer. He's our vice president, and he's the guy that's got all our European Union and national approvals. So we have all those approvals thanks to Javier. So we're ready to go. So I say to you, we will break ground in June. We have the approvals to break ground in June, and we will be doing that. In terms of the future employees, we're advertising for 200 now. The total number is 550, and the University of Salamanca is saying that we'll have a knock-on factor of 5 times that, so about 2,500. Probably the other questions you'd want answering was, how are we going to finance it, and what's the offtake? Well, we're going to see the offtake partners, as I mentioned, and we'll see what the market looks like. But it's interesting, actually, because here we are in this country getting fed electricity by EDF, and some of that electricity comes from their uranium, their nuclear facilities in France. My question to them is, you know, we buy fair trade coffee in this country. Are we buying fair trade electricity? Because they get some of their uranium from places like Niger and Kazakhstan and Russia. So I think there's a question mark for this project is, should this project really fall into the hands of the Russians, as it nearly was, or the Chinese, or the Koreans, or the Japanese, or should EDF or one of the European utilities buy it? So I think that's a big question, and we're asking that question now. In terms of financing, I am not exaggerating, and I'll introduce Namrata here. Namrata sits in our office. She's an Standard Bank banker, and she's been doing all our financial modeling for the people who've been coming in to do due diligence. We're already being bombarded with private equity, royalty companies. Our major shareholder, Anglo-Pacific, wants to put a royalty in. Resource Capital Fund is one of our major shareholders. They want to finance the whole thing. Then on top of that, I have the 4 biggest and best institutions in the City of London, mining funds, JP Morgan, BlackRock, Fidelity, and Capita, all want to fund this. So I'm absolutely sure that we can fund it. What we're trying to achieve is, we don't want to issue stock at 25 pence. I want to issue stock at closer to, if I have to issue equity, closer to £1. And the way I'll achieve that is go and get a strategic offtake partner, show the world I can offtake it, and then put some leverage in through some money from then, and then add some equity to it. So the equity will come in last. We are just spending money at the moment, and we have 11.6 million Australian dollars in the bank, which is enough money to get from where we are today to that financing event, which will be April, May next year, just before we commence construction. So I'm saying to you, we're targeting a single financing event, April, May next year. Hopefully it'll be a mix of strategic, royalty, and equity all in one go. And the other thing we get asked is, will existing shareholders be allowed to participate in that equity raise at that point? And the answer is yes. We're trying to make this a participatory issue, and it was an entitlement issue to all shareholders.
How will we be able to participate?
If you're an ordinary shareholder, the board's not approved this yet, but the idea would be just make an open offer to shareholders so that you get in at the same price as the institutions. There's 4 enrichment facilities in the world. So we produce this thing called yellow cake, and it goes in drums, and then it goes to an enrichment facility. The one in Europe is in France, and basically it goes there, and we basically sell it at that point. So your yellow cake to the enrichment facility gets enriched, and that's the point of sale for us to the utilities. Thanks very much. We've got a stall, we've got a stand. Please come along and have a chat later. Thank you very much for your time.